Under a flickering street lamp in the sleepy town of Millstone Hollow, Delilah Carter, a 70-year-old black woman with salt and pepper braids and eyes weathered by decades of storms, stood silently on her creaky wooden porch, cradling a chipped ceramic mug. The night breathed secrets. Crickets chirped like everything was fine, but the air wasn't. It hung too heavy, too quiet, tinged with the scent of pine sap and smoke. Smoke from a chimney that felt unnervingly close. Her old Lincoln sat at the edge of the gravel driveway, its silver paint faded from years of sun and storm. Its bumper still bore the peeling "Justice for Marsha P. Johnson" sticker she refused to scrape off. Next to it was her son Malcolm's navy blue police cruiser, washed and waxed as always, gleaming even in the weak light. Delilah's eyes scanned the stillness. Down the hill, where the road curled like a lazy serpent through thick woods, something caught her eye, a flicker, a shadow. No headlights, no markings, just two black SUVs inching forward like predators. Her stomach dropped, same as it had the night her husband Joseph didn't come home from a so-called routine traffic stop. Same gut feeling she got every time Malcolm stepped out in uniform. Lately, her instincts had been flaring up more often. Malcolm had confided that something in the precinct had rotted. Internal affairs buried complaints. Body cams glitched at convenient times. The wrong cops were promoted. The good ones silenced. Delilah stepped into the shadow of her porch, the lone bulb above her buzzing, flickering, like it too sensed what was coming. She didn't breathe. She didn't move. Then they appeared. 4 men emerged from the SUVs in formation, dressed not like locals, but like ghosts for hire, tactical gear, visors, rifles slung low. No bikes, no names. One dropped a duffel bag beside Malcolm's cruiser, unzipping it with muscle memory. Another sauntered toward Delilah's Lincoln, carrying a red gasoline canister that shimmered beneath the flickering streetlight. Delilah's mug trembled, but she didn't. She watched as he poured a clear liquid across the Lincoln's hood, down the windshield onto the grass. He smirked, too much satisfaction in the act. He glanced at the cruiser, flicked a lighter, and dropped it. She didn't blink, didn't scream, just watched. The fire came fast. First a hiss, then a scream. Flames devoured the Lincoln, then leapt hungrily to the cruiser. Glass cracked. Tires popped. The night exploded in orange and red. The men watched, silent. One laughed. Delilah stepped forward, slow and calm. In her hand, her flip phone screen glowed, recording. "You proud of yourselves?" she called out, voice sharp and unwavering. "Burn a mother's car. A cop's too." All 4 turned. The tallest one stepped closer, mask hiding his face, but not the arrogance in his stance. "Step inside, Granny," he said. "This ain't your fight." Delilah held up the phone. "It is now," and she pressed upload. She stood there until they left, first hesitant, then hasty, someone muttering. She filmed it. Damn it. Malcolm arrived an hour later in a borrowed pickup from colleague. The fire was long out. 2 burned-out husks smoldered in the gravel. Ash covered everything. The acrid scent of gasoline still clung to the air. Delilah stood guard, garden hose in one hand, phone in the other. Battery low, memory full. Malcolm stepped out in jeans and a sweatshirt. No uniform, but every move still precise, measured. He surveyed the wreckage, then looked at her. "You all right, Mama?" She nodded. They made it personal now. "Baby, you know that." He nodded. Once. By morning, the video had 2 million views. Delilah's voice over flames hit harder than speeches. But the department's story spun differently. On Channel 6, Vanessa Graham, a polished white anchor who never once reported on corruption, claimed it was gang retaliation. The news crawl read, "Captain Carter under investigation." Delilah shook her head. They always rewriting the truth. Malcolm paced their motel kitchen. "They say I left the cruiser unlocked. That I invited it." She sipped her coffee. "You think this about your cruiser? It's about you calling out that cop who slammed that teen at the mall. Kevin Drummond." Malcolm muttered, still on duty, still smirking. "And he ain't alone." By noon, her theory proved true. Their motel door was kicked in. Officers swarmed. They cuffed Malcolm. Didn't even glance at his badge. Delilah tried to fight them off, but one whispered as he shoved her back. Should have stayed quiet. Lip bleeding, hands shaking, she called Darren Brooks, an old student turned journalist with a fiery podcast. Within hours, his latest episode went live, burned for speaking out. The silencing of Captain Carter. Delilah joined via phone. You can torch a car, jail a man, but you can't bury the truth. By sundown, protesters crowded the courthouse, hoodie-clad teens, elders in folding chairs. Darren's post hit 5 million views. Activists got Delilah to a safe house, an old church, boarded up, iron gate locked. Inside, faces she once taught fed help. She felt loved. She also felt hunted. Malcolm called from holding. They planted gang intel in my locker, Ma. They're scared. They should be, she replied. That night, a black pickup drove by slow, tossed a firebomb over the fence. It didn't ignite, but the message burned clear. Delilah sat in a pew, back straight, while Darren read new tips. We've got photos of Drummond near your house before the fire. A whistleblower says Malcolm's file was altered. The story hit national media. Cable anchors debated with clinical detachment. Can a police captain be both a whistleblower and a liability? Delilah didn't answer. She cleaned, cooked, prayed, waited. A week later, Malcolm was released quietly. No cameras. No apology. That same night, Delilah's house burned to the ground. At dawn, she walked the ashes barefoot, holding a soot-covered photo of Malcolm at graduation. She didn't cry. She recorded, "They burned what I built, but not what I am." 10 million views by nightfall. The next day, county officials held a press conference. Sheriff Leonard Bridges, old, decorated, clueless, stammered through denials. There is no systemic bias in our department. Captain Carter reinstated. Delilah sat in back, face calm. Malcolm stood outside, badge in hand. This means nothing while Drummond walks free, he said, loud and sure. I won't be your shield. He dropped the badge at Delilah's feet. It clattered like a bell. The silence broke with cheers, sobs, and shame. Some officers turned away. One stepped forward. Carla Ruiz, a young Latina patrol officer, removed her glasses, revealing a fading bruise. He's right, she said, voice trembling but unbroken. 2 rookies joined. Then a grizzled sergeant who once served with Joseph. Then a detective with too many unsolved cases. They didn't all drop badges, but they stood beside Malcolm. By night, footage had gone viral again. Darren's podcast topped charts. Anonymous leaks surfaced. Internal Affairs launched a real probe. 4 days later, Drummond was suspended. His lawyer called it revenge. Protesters booed him off the steps. Delilah's phone buzzed nonstop. Messages from students, churches, colleges. A GoFundMe exploded. Volunteers came, teachers, nurses, contractors from 2 towns over. They rebuilt the house in 3 weeks. Not a mansion, but home. Same mailbox, initials carved by Joseph. Same rocking chair. New porch. New roof. New hope. She kept the old mug. Used a new one when guests visited, but always reached for the chipped one at night. Malcolm grilled out back. Carla brought her niece. The smell of hickory and lemon pepper floated. Delilah sat on the porch, wrapped in a soft blanket. Sipped coffee. Smiled, a smile chipped by grief but still whole. She whispered to the sky. 10 seconds changed everything. Burn lies, but we're still here. Children laughed. Sam Cooke played low. Fireflies danced. Delilah never called herself a hero. She didn't have to. Others did. Strangers wrote letters. Babies were named after her. A mural went up downtown. She claimed it was too dramatic, but cried once alone behind the bathroom door. When the precinct unveiled a plaque honoring community courage, they asked Delilah to cut the ribbon. She wore sky blue. The color Joseph said made her look like spring. She cut it clean. No hesitation. Just like always.